Hello guys, and welcome back to another video by me, lilo&stitch Art and Games. And today we're doing another art video with polymer clay. You know the clay that I use, and that is the Fimo Soft. And I've got, as you know, I've got a little bit of funding, and also there is an Etsy channel that is now up and running, like I've been telling you in other videos. That is now up and running, and I've had 2 orders. One today, I'm going to be showing you how to make stitch, and that is what somebody has ordered over on my Etsy channel. My Etsy channel is here, if you would like to check it out. That's etsy.shop/Blute084 Creations. That's Blute084 Creations. So if you want to go and choose something that you want to be made, or already see something on there, again guys, if you do not see anything on the Etsy channel, you can request something either in the comments down below or on the Etsy channel itself in the contact part of that app, or if you work on the PC you can find it over there. It is all over the internet. Definitely guys, go and check it out. You'll see my face, or you'll see the face that I've drawn, and all the things like that. But today, like I said, we've got an order. This one has been made already, but I've already given this one away to somebody I live with, and so yeah, that's been made for them. But I did post it up on my Etsy, as I'll tell you now. Everything you see on the Etsy, other than certain items, I will remake them. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be remaking that stitch, because again, that one was given to someone I'm living with, and I don't want to give away their gift. So I'm going to remake everything. So, this one, and most things, again, what you see, other than selected items from my own story. If you guys do want to purchase anything, you can do by going over to the Etsy and checking it out. But without further ado, let's get on with what materials we're going to be using, what things we're going to be needing, and how to make the stitch. Let's go, shall we? Right, so what we first need is the polymer clay that we're using. Again, it's Fimo Soft, and some wire, and also a bit of tin foil, or whatever you call it in your country. It's tin foil, we call it here. We will be using a few tools out of my toolkit. These are plastic, you can get them from any art shop, and that's what we'll be needing. First we'll be starting off with some tin foil. That will be for the core of the body. It is helpful to strengthen the body, and also it helps on not using too much clay. If you're like me, you make a lot of different things and you kind of want to conserve your clay a little bit, get yourself some tin foil, turn it into a ball, or the shape that it needs for what you're making. Again, in this one we'll be making the stitch from Lilo&stitch. So you just sort of mould and fold and get things into the right shape before we get around to the next part, which will be the clay. And once you've got your clay, I'm going to rip a bit off, or you can cut a bit off, as much, depending on how you want to do it. I ripped it off because I forgot my knife. But yeah, we'll roll it in your hands, because this is Fimo Soft. It will be able to sort of form and soften in your hands. But if you're using a different type of clay, or hardened type of clay, you will need a pasta maker to roll it between, or you can use a roller, but that takes a lot longer. But this is Fimo Soft, and it softens in your hand. You just roll it around in your hand, make a sausage and things like that, fold it over until it feels nice and soft and pliable in your hands. I'm using a pencil here to flatten it out. Again, you can get rollers and all sorts of different things. My roller is actually broken. I used to have a nice little red one, but that's broken. So I'm using a pencil just to get it nice and flat. And roughly for the thickness for this item, and most items for the core of the body, you're going to about a crepe or a pancake, and an English style pancake. You don't want it too thick, but you don't want it too thin either, because if you have it too thin, the tin foil will start sticking through it, and then you've got a whole lot of mess to sort out and try and figure out how you're going to cover those pieces up. Yeah, run about a pancake, and then you start wrapping it over your tin foil, moulding it into the shape that you need or you want. This is going to be the body or the core, and for the Lilo or the Solar Stitch that we're making. After you've finished faffing with all that and got into the right shape, and you've smoothed all the edges and made sure that there are no bits of tinfoil sticking up, because again, it can still stick through if you folded it and moulded it and pushed it in certain areas. But this one hasn't, obviously, because I've got it nice and smooth in certain areas. I want it to be a little bit bumpy because I want it to be like a body shape. But that's all of the thing, and the tinfoil is in there, and it should be just about ready to start putting the next parts in. And the next part will be some wire. You should use wire cutters. I'm being a faffy, but this is like very thin wire, so I can easily break it with my hands, just mold it back and forward and it'll break off your hand. You can use pliers or something that will cut metal. It would be helpful if you're learning and you don't know how to cut it or where to cut it. It's kind of like a pair of scissors and cut it into the right shape. But this will be for the arms and legs, as you can see here. We've got arms and legs, and that will strengthen and also keep the body, the legs and the arms and the head attached to the body a little bit better. You can do this a different way, but because I'm using thin wire, I've just stuck them in and done it this way. And when you're happy with the way it's shaped and you've got the right length of wire that you're going to be using, you start getting your clay. Again, make sure it's not too soft but not too firm, and you can start moulding it and shaping it and putting it over to your over the wire to start making the legs. And when you're happy with the way the legs are looking, I'm kind of happy because I've given it a bit of a thigh, and he's got a chunky thigh and he's got a thinner part of the leg. And I think that's looking okay for me. What about you? Let me know in the comments down below if you're thinking this one's looking like the original. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, so don't be shy and say hello. We've got the bottom legs. We're now going to do the front paws in the same way as we did the other arms, but this one we're going to be going it from the front. Again, we'll take the wire out and then wrap the wire around and then stick it back in. Make sure when you're sticking it back in you've got a little bit of wire left sticking out, so you can push it back into the body and make sure it's fixed and stays. For this particular model, I'm going to be sort of just cutting the shape of the toes and forming them with my hands. Sometimes I'll stick them on, but it all depends on what model and what creation I'm doing. You can get yourself a little flat thing and cut the toes out. He's only got 3 toes, so I'll be cutting those into the right length and then forming them into the nails with my fingers. And we can't forget that he has a head and a little tail. I'm going to do the little tail now because I want to pre-bake this before I do the head, so it's nice and firm, because when you start doing the heads and extra parts on top, you tend to mess up, or I tend to mess up the body part because I'm trying to push the head on, or it's not staying in there and I'm trying to faff with it and making sure it's the right shape. So let's just stick that little bit of tail on, this little ball tail, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we're going to do that tail. Again, we're going to use a little bit of wire, stick it in and stick it on to make sure it sticks and stays. But make sure you firmly put this piece on because it is a possibility that it may fall off. So you want to make sure it's fixed to the body and really, really firmly on there. Same with arms and legs. For any model that you're doing, you want to make sure that they are, if they don't have any clothing that is, that they are stuck very formed on firmly. So again, just in case they start to come loose after they have had their first bake. And now we're ready for the first bake. And the first bake, you want to, all baking when you're doing polymer clay, you want to put it at 110 Celsius or 230 Fahrenheit. And after the first bake, and it's all cooled down and ready to go again, you want to make sure it has cooled down pretty well and hardened pretty well as well. You can't, sometimes it may or not harden in certain areas, or certain areas may become fragile, so you want to kind of check that before you start working on it again. But I'm thinking everything's stuck on, everything's not soft anymore, and you want to make sure all those wiry bits aren't going to come out when you want to put the next pieces on. I'm now going to start doing the head. So we sort of roll up the bowl, trying to gauge the size of the head. This one's a little bit too big, so I'm going to take a little bit off and start working with it. And until you're happy with it, I wouldn't start working on any other features. But when you are happy and ready to start working on features, get yourself something blunt. This is a blunt knife. I work with it quite often. Again, guys, if you're going to be using knives, any young viewers, please get some adult helper to help you with this part, because you may cut yourself, and I don't want that for you to get yourself damaged or hurt yourself. But yeah, score through. So you want to make the mouth. So straight through the middle of the ball that you just made. We're just making the mouth here, so we're forming it out and making it nice in mouth shape. And now we've got the mouth. It's all nicely shaped to the way I want it. We're going to start on the nose now. So we'll roll up a little ball for the little nose. To make the nose holes, you get yourself, again, out of the little toolbox if you've got it. If you haven't got a toolbox, you can also use just a pencil to do little indents to make the nostrils, like I do here. You want to gently place that on because you can deform the mouth and deform the nose when you're putting this on, because this is a very delicate part. So you want to be quite delicate with your pushing and where you're pressing on this. Again, you don't want to mess up any of the nostril holes. So gently push it on, but make sure it is fixed. But because it's polymer clay, it's quite tacky, so it should stay together as long as it's fairly warm. If it's cold, you will need to make sure it's warm before putting it on, but only warm to the touch, not warm you've put it on the heater or anything like that, because I will start baking it. And then we'll start working on the eyes. Again, we'll roll a little ball and we'll turn these into a little oval shape, because Stitch does have oval eye type shapes. And again, we're going trying to gauging what size we need to roll them up, and then if you think it's a bit too big, you want to take a little bit off until you're quite happy with that, and then start making your oval shape and start sticking bits on. Because Stitch has a little outline on his eye, I'm going to put a little disc underneath the actual eye, so it has a little bit of a raised piece to it, because if you look at any picture, he has a little thing around his eye, and I like the way the original looks. So I'm going to be, again, we're remaking the original, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I did to make that one. So I put a little disc and then I put the eye on top. Again, it's a little oval, then stick that one on top of there. Again, if you're not happy with it straight away, keep fiddling with it until you think it's happy, but like I said, make sure you are being delicate, because you can deform the mouth. And now we're ready to start doing the ears. And I had a little bit of a trouble doing these ears originally, and I'm glad I did this one and I'm remaking this one, because the ears were a bit of a bother for me, because I am going to be using wire to fortify the ears. I did in the original, and that's what I had to do to make them actually stay in the shape that I wanted them to be. Because I made them first with just doing the clay, and they just flopped around and they became too soft when I was baking, and I had a bit of a problem with it. So yeah, I'm going to put some wire in these ones and do that. You're gauging it up, you're making sure that they are the right size. You don't want them too big, because obviously Stitch only has small ears. You don't want to turn them into a rabbit. So yeah, gauge the wire out, you get your pliers to cut it to the right shape, and away you go. Well, once you're happy and confident with the size of the wire you're going to be using, again, you can readjust that wire at any point at this point when you're going to be putting this wire in. You want to flatten down some clay and obviously make some nice ear shape. Put the wire in. Again, you want to be going with the wire. You can, if you haven't got a roller, you can use a pencil to roll out and to make a thinner piece of polymer clay. I always used to use a roller, but now I'm using a pencil because it broke. But yeah, put that wire in, and you will start folding it over the. So you've got to cut out around those ear pieces first, because there's a little bit of excess here. It doesn't matter about the excess, because you can cut up any excess that you don't want and you think it's doing a bit too much. But after you've done that, you'll fold the wire over the ear and make it. Form it out to make it look like the ear that you desire. when you're happy with the way the ears are looking and you've got them in the right shape and you've got them looking like you want them to be looking, I'm going to start again being very gentle again with the ears, because they are now very pliable because of all the shape that you've done there. Especially on the head, you do not want to push too hard on the head because you'll start to deform the head as you put those in. Again, it would be very helpful to get yourself a little tool or a little flat piece of something. Push that towards the head itself. Again, being very gentle when you do this to make sure that there's no gaps between. Because another problem I had when I was making the original is I had a little bit of a gap. I couldn't quite get the ears to stay where I wanted them because of the wire was attaching them to them. But push them on a little bit so there's no gaps between. And again, these are going to move around a little bit because they are quite heavy, and the wire will only hold to a certain degree to hold the shape. So you want to sort of be careful when you put them on. But yeah, there's some ears on the Stitch's head. I took the ears off for a minute because I want to work on the teeth and the tongue inside the mouth. I will, again, this is a very delicate thing. You can pre-bake the teeth to put them in. I've forgotten to do that, so I'm just going to make up a few teeth or a tongue now and pop that in the mouth to make sure that he's got a tongue, because he has a very prominent tongue in all the comics, all of the pictures that I've seen, and obviously in the film that quite a few films that he's been in. But yeah, roll out a little like, I would say like a tic tac type shape, and then score down the middle to make the little indent everybody has on their tongue, make a bit more of a cartoony tongue as well. Now we've done the tongue, it's time to do the teeth. And he's got quite stubby teeth, I want to call them. So again, you can pre-bake these teeth, but I haven't pre-baked anything because I completely forgot to do that. And so I went ahead and did a load of extra little teeth. I did it off stream because it's just a video, because it just takes a little bit of time. And I'm going to put them in, again being very gentle, because you don't want to deform the head at this point. You don't want to press on the eyes. Definitely don't press on the eyes because you will squash them and deform the eyes. You'll have to do the eyes again, and then you'll have to have a load of mess and things like that. So be very gentle as you're pushing them in, but hard enough to actually stay there. Again, they have to be a little bit tacky for them to stay in. If you pre-bake them, it is a lot easier to do this because you can force them in because they're a lot harder. You can sort of keep them in like you would force in your own sort of fake teeth or whatever. But yeah, you want to be gentle at this point. Put them in. You can open the mouth a little bit wider if you need to, because again, nothing's baked yet, so you can sort of form this. But again, being very gentle so you don't deform anything else around this part of the mouth or the part of the head. and push the teeth in to give yourself a little bit of more space to get all of this fiddly part done. Take your time, be gentle, and be careful. And there we have it, one stitch head, all complete and finished. I showed you how to do the ears, I showed you how to do the teeth, and everything should be okay. I'm going to put this one to the side a minute and then start working on the feet. But when you put it down, again, be gentle, because I don't want to put it on just yet because we're not ready to bake. And if I put it on now, before doing the feet, everything will start to droop and everything won't stay in place, because you'll need something later on. I'll show you what you need to do to keep the ears in place for when you're in the baking part. But we are now going to be getting on with the feet. Again, make the shape that you want for the feet. Same idea as the feet that we did in the earlier part of the video, where we'll be putting these on, and we've left a little bit of wire sticking out so we can actually get these to attach and stay in a nice place. But you want to make out the right shape. I would say like a circle will do, but then you want to cut out the toe shapes and then form them with your fingers to get the right shape that you want. Once you're happy with the foot placement and everything is looking like you want it to for the toes and such, because Stitch has a little bit of like a nibble or a knob, a little something on his feet. He's got before his actual claw, you have to put a little bit of a little tiny circular piece on each toe to before you put the nail or the claw on. Just like a little circular piece I can put in there. And pop it on. Again, you make sure that it's tacky and it will stick quite nicely, because again, when you've baked it, it may fall off, because I did have a problem with this previously, where the nails, I put them on, baked them, and then all I did was pick it up and handle it, and it fell up. The nails actually fell off. So you want to make sure that they are on firmly at this point. And again, same thing for the nail piece. Again, it's about the same shape as the teeth when you're doing the nail pieces. Keep watching and you'll see what. And there's everything put together, ready for its second bake and final bake at 110 Celsius and 220 Fahrenheit. Make sure you keep them at that temperature, no higher, because it will burn and it will bubble. Okay, so it's had its final bake and now it's all hardened and cooled down nicely. We're about ready. Oh, as I say, I added a little bit off stream or off video on the chest there. There's a little bit of fluff because I noticed in one of the pictures that I was looking for references, he had a bit of fluff on his chest, and I thought it'd be a nice little add thing. But like I said, it's all cooled down and hardened now. Everything is fixed and staying where it should be. So we're about ready to start some painting. What things you'll be needing for painting is obviously some paintbrushes of various sizes. Also some paint. This here we've got some Studio Acrylic high viscosity. I would definitely recommend high viscosity for that for painting. But you can also get some Chiltern Art acrylic paint. Sorry about my phone. The acrylic paint from Chiltern Art is a little bit watery, so bear that in mind, and that's where the high viscosity white will come in very handy. You also need some sort of paint tray. You don't have to have a paint tray. You can just use a piece of card or something you've got lying around. As long as it's not paper, you should be fine to use it to mix on or mix your colours, or just to put your colours on where you're going to be picking them up from. But yeah, paintbrushes of various sizes. I'm going to be using quite a large brush because we'll only be doing the base coat right now. That's why it's only black and white. We're going to be using those two colours, mixing them together. You can just go black and you can just go white, but I found with this clay it needs a first going over with a primer colour. So I'm going to be using this grey that I'm going to be mixing now and going over the whole thing with the same colour. Won't be putting it in different or certain areas. I'm going to go over one area of the whole thing to get it all nicely painted and have a base coat. So when I come around to doing the detailed and the extra colours and the colours that I want to actually be on there, it'll be ready to get on there and it'll stay there, and I won't have to paint it 2 or 3 times, because sometimes when you paint it, the paint under the clay still shows underneath, and that's why I always give my clay figures a base coat of some sort of colour. Sometimes I use black, sometimes brown, or a darker colour of what colour I want it to end up looking like. But we're using grey right now, so let's get on and get that done. Okay, so that's the main first coat finished and dried. You want to definitely leave this dry. If you're not going to use a hairdryer or something to dry it off, you want to leave it overnight to let it soak in and dry over so it's completely dry. You can leave it near a heater, but sometimes with certain paints that'll leave it tacky. So I would definitely advise, if you're going to use a hairdryer, make sure you've got the right temperature, like a low heat, or like maybe even cool if you can use a hairdryer, and dry it off that way. Again, just leave it overnight. But we're now going into the part where I'm going to be adding the actual colour to the stitch, and there's the two colours that we're going to be using, a bit of blue, a bit of red. Going to mix them together. Going to adding a little bit of this high viscosity white, just so it thickens the paint up and gives it a good finish, I find. And a little bit of black. You'll see what I'll be using all these colours for, because I'll be mixing them for you, and I'm trying to make this the closest to this colour as possible. But if you can't get it, you can get it sort of mix and match and muddle around and change it, add this colour, add that colour until you're completely happy. I wasn't completely happy with the original colours because it's not to my the reference picture I was using in the beginning. So I'm going to be trying to get as close to that picture, the original reference picture, as possible. I'm going to be using a bit of blue, a bit of red. I'm going to be trying to make myself a purple, because if you mix those two colours together, then you get a good shade of purple. These are quite dark, and that's why I've got the white there as well. I'm going to be mixing these two together, getting them as close to as what I need it to be, and doing exactly the same thing as we did for the grey, going over the whole thing and getting that painted, dried, and should be ready to add some more details. Again, if you are going to use a hairdryer, make sure it's on a low heat. You don't keep it too close for too long. You keep moving your hairdryer to make sure it dries, and then you've got a nice finished and dried off piece of something you can carry on painting. This is the second coat of the paint. I did go over this once and then went over it again because I wasn't completely happy, because still, even when I put the first original coat on, you can see a little bit of show of the grey underneath, and if this was not painted beforehand, you would have seen the white of the clay, or the grey, or whatever colour clay you're using. You would have seen that colour come through. So I've given it a couple of coats and gone and make sure it's completely done. In the meantime, whilst I was waiting for all of that to dry, and as it was like sort of parts of it was dry and used to hair drying things, I put an extra little bit of white on around his eyes, on his chin, and on a little bit of fluff on his chest there. And we're now going to be going into all the rest of the details that need to be put on. That is, we're going to be painting the claws black, doing a patch on his paws, a patch on his back, doing his teeth, and then we'll be doing we'll be doing his nose and his eyes. They will be black. I will change the colour a little bit for the nose, and you'll see that as we get on the rest of the video. Just a little side note now I've changed brushes as well. I am not using the original brush that was the nice thick and wide brush. Now I'm using a thin and small brush, fine brush if you like, to do all these details, because it just gives you a bit more control and helps you to get in all the nooks and crannies without sort of painting the whole thing and having to repaint everything again. So yeah, always use the right brushes for the right tools in the right places. And we're done, complete and finished. That is doing the stitch. Again, there's the original where someone ordered this one. Again, this one was given to somebody I'm living with at the moment, so I couldn't give this one away. And again, everything that you do order doesn't necessarily mean you'll be getting the original, but you will be getting a remake on certain items. Please ask if you're going to go over to the Etsy. Once again, my Etsy is this here. And here is the finished and completed item remade. Hopefully you did enjoy this video and you like the product. Hopefully the person that ordered will enjoy it. There will be hopefully a review, but I'll leave that down to her discretion. But yeah, there is the finished and completed stitch, remade, ready for sale on my Etsy. You saw me do from the making of it, from the very core, from the very beginning of it. You've also seen me paint this one, and also now we've done it completed. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much again, guys, for watching this video. And if you do want to order anything, don't forget to go and check out my Etsy. I'm also do loads of other videos, so don't forget to go and check those out if you want to see how I've made those things over on my Etsy channel. But otherwise, I'm over on TikTok, over on Instagram, and here as much as possible. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. If you finished watching one video, why not tap one of these videos here, or tap one over there, or even tap the middle and hit that subscribe if you're new.